How's life?
Oh, not bad. Today is a pretty nice day here. It's almost 70 degrees, so that's not bad for February.
Nice. Where are you
There's
today,
still
Eric?
snow on the ground in some places though. Like there's a big pile of it around the corner, and it's still over there.
We had some hailstones, like giant, big hailstones that were like, I thought they were going to crack the glass a couple of times. Apart from that, there's the winter here is just a joke. It's not real.
Mm, that's the life.
Up in the mountains, though, there's proper snow in the mountains. You can go. There's like a ski resort in the mountains, but it's the rest of the place is just nothing. But they're all running around scared. 2 days of you should say it was like 2 days of rain, and the parents are sending the kids out with like 4 or 5 layers, and they've got these big puffer jacket things on and 2 hats and all this. Is ridiculous, you know.
Overkill.
Yeah.
So, what are you guys drinking?
Having some coffee.
Coffee?
Yeah.
Anything in it,
Yep.
or just black?
It's got some goat milk in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
You
some
wish you
honey.
had told me that.
Yeah, some honey, some cinnamon, and a little bit of pepper, chili pepper.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What percentage of fat is in the goat's milk?
Well, it's as far as I know, all goat milk is pretty much the same because the fat is naturally homogenized.
Right.
You know, so it's not like a cream top that you can remove and modulate. It's all blended into the fat. That's
Right,
how.
because there's the stuff here. There's basically just two choices: 1.5% or 3.5%. That's it.
That's for goat.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This is just whole goat milk, so I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't have a label, so don't know. But it's probably close to 3.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite surprisingly creamy, the 3.5. Um,
Hmm.
the I don't really like the 1.5. It's too watery. I'm not keen on it.
Yeah.
But and they have some decent kefir here as well with goat's milk. It's hard to find though. You
Mm.
kind of have to wander around to find it. It's not everywhere.
Yeah, I remember. I know your Cyprus is pretty close to Turkey. When I was in Turkey, the only milk I could find was ultra pasteurized. You know, the really shelf stable stuff. And my daughter at the time, she was like almost 2. She couldn't tolerate it because she'd only ever had raw milk and breast milk. So what we had to give her the whole trip was just kefir,
Mm.
and that was pretty easy to find. But
Yeah, the
yeah,
cow's milk here is pretty bad. It's they really don't. It's not really a thing. They don't like drinking it with tea and coffee. I don't think it's. I don't think they care about it that much. And it's more just it's getting a bit better because of all the British here.
hmm,
Obviously, milk will be required for British incomers, but the when it first came here, it was just like shocking how little cream it was. It was disgusting. But they're using it all for cheese.
yeah. There aren't really many cows there, right, on the
No,
island.
I don't know. There's not that many, relatively speaking. No,
Hmm.
there's quite a lot of it is imported, but you do get local beef. It's some of the stuff I've had's been pretty good actually here.
Yeah.
The pork, it's mainly pork. There's pork everywhere, and it's so cheap. The pork, it's unbelievable compared to other things. You could really like survive a long time on pork without a very
Hmm.
big bill. At the moment, that might change though. But yeah, I eat a lot of goat's based cheeses at the moment.
Hmm.
What are you drinking, Keith?
Eric, you shared some photos, I guess, from that trip to Turkey that you had. Oh, me. This is green tea with a lemon in it. Nothing too fancy.
This classic combo there.
Yeah. I've been having a lot of dairy, too much dairy, and I think it's been giving me some stomach issues. Along with, I've been trying to induce dreams with potato starch based on a recommendation from Eric. And I think the potato starch is also giving me some digestive issues. So I'm laying off the dairy, and I'm going to take a few days rest from the potato starch. But the
Potato
dreams have been
starch and
good.
dreams. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the next evolution of the potato diet.
Mm-hmm.
This
It really does.
this explains Irish mythology.
Well, they weren't eating potatoes when they wrote that.
That's true, yeah. That's pre-potato.
Yeah, with the potato starch, you gotta, because you said you kind of launched right into a few tablespoons, right, a night. Is that correct?
Yeah, I went really big, and I wasn't not really measuring. I'm just kind of not taking a measuring tablespoon, just like a normal like
Big spoon.
silverware
Yeah.
tablespoon, and taking 2 scoops. So it's probably way more.
Yeah, I mean, you could try just doing one, or because what some people recommend with that is they find they have to start with like a teaspoon. I think you could probably handle more, but I know a lot of people that had digestive issues from just launching right into it. So, but and it just takes time to acclimate because your gut bacteria are learning to eat the new stuff coming in.
Yeah.
They get a little excited, when all that food comes in.
Oh, I feel it. Yeah. They certainly have gotten excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin, what do you got?
Earl Grey tea with lemon and I'm going to shock you, honey. And some
The old
some
classic.
milk. Yep.
Wait, so you do lemon with milk in tea? I've never.
This one is this is like ready-made bags of the Earl Grey, and it's got lemon in it. Just like we have like a load of boxes of them, and I'm trying to use them up.
Okay.
So that's why that, and honey is obviously just going in it because my hand is squeezed. I bought like a squeezy bottle of honey. Yeah. It's just like my hand this is my grip strength training, squeezing the honey all the time. And then you can tell the weather based on what the honey's like in the bottle. That's kind of my barometer now.
That's how they do it in Cyprus, right? That's how you tell the temperature.
That's how they do it. Yeah, all the fishermen have like a bottle of honey hanging on the wall, and then they go up and squeeze it to know. It's going to be a good day. We'll go out today. Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. So what do you want to talk about then, Keith? You had an idea.
Yeah. I guess the idea I had was all around opportunity and when to. I guess we could all just kind of riff on it a little bit, different ways to look at opportunity and how I guess risk plays into that, and if you are more of the mindset that you should just take every opportunity you can. I had a tweet because I was thinking about this, and I don't know where we could take it, but my idea was that just looking in generalities, you have the time period, say between like your late teens and your late 20s, where that's a really good really good time in your life to kind of take opportunities and get your behaviors founded in something good. So I like my skew towards that was like, if you take that time, that decade or so, and you're focused on your health, fitness, learning how to eat right, learning how to making all those things your own, like developing yourself in those areas. A lot of times by the time you get to your early 30s, mid 30s, you get pretty deep into a career. Most people get pretty deep into a career, or you start having a family, and that takes up a lot of your focus. So if you don't have those developed patterns prior to that, you're likely not going to get the opportunity to do it again until your late 30s, maybe not your 40s or even your 50s, when your kids become more self-sufficient, your career has reached a certain level where it's kind of you're not striving as much, you're more just maintaining your level of career. Again, these are just generalities, but I guess the core idea at the center of that is like you have different periods in your life where opportunity is just more available to you. Like you have windows of opportunity in your life, and if you're not acting on them at the right time, you may have to wait quite a significant amount of time for that opportunity to come back along, to like refocus or reorganize your priorities. So that was my main idea there. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that or expansion of it, or maybe we could bring it back home into more like a concrete type example. But what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, give us an example of an opportunity that you either failed to act on at the time, or one that you did act on at the time that maybe you weren't sure at the time, but then it worked out, or whatever, and then any kind of insights you've had after that.
Yeah. You know, for me, the first thing that comes to mind is just like a focus on health and everything. Like I only really started to get into diet and exercise and all that like when I was I guess I was kind of interested throughout my younger life, but really once I got into college, and that's when I really started focusing on it. So that's like 10 years now, more than over 10 years. And I'm just really happy that I did that at the time, because it really one, I learned how to cook for myself. I learned what foods to cook. I learned what flavors go together. So like that's just a skill that can, like, I don't have to think about that anymore. And to think about that if I was to have to learn that now, like that would be I don't know if I would be able to do it the same way, just because you have different priorities and everything. So that's kind of something that I'm thankful for, that I just like a pattern that I got myself into a long time ago, that like I feel like those behaviors have really taken hold in my life, and I'll have no problem carrying them through the rest of my life. Of course, that may change. You can't predict the future, but that's one thing that I think of, that I think that not many people have also, not that it's not that many, it's that unless you do that at a certain time, I see people getting into my age group and they just all fall off, in terms of like, they have more doctor's visits, they're getting fatter, they're not eating healthy, and they're coming up on the time in their life when they're, like I said, having kids or really getting into the careers, and those things just they get pushed to the back entirely if you don't have those behavioral patterns in place already.
So when you say opportunity, you're thinking in terms of there are certain phases of your life where you have the chance to put good things in motion or build good habits, or kind of
yeah, not that I think it's limited to that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could consider perspectives on opportunity, but that was just one that jumped out on me, that I sat back and I'm like, okay, where's like, there's certain times when you just don't have the ability to take risks or something along those lines, and other times in your life when you do. So
yeah, when you're younger and you've just got nothing to lose, you can take a big, you can deliberately do 3 or 4 things in a row that you know probably aren't going to work. But if they do, it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, not even when you're just younger, but also when you get older, and you don't have as many things dependent on you, or you've already made a sizable amount of money, or something along those lines, then you have opportunity opens back up, or the ability to take risk opens back up if you have a bit bigger like net, safety net to fall back on if you've made something of yourself. So I mean, that's more of like a macro view on opportunity, but there are also just like small everyday opportunities. Like you have Eric, this is something you talk about all the time. is you take every opportunity. Like when your kids ask you to do something, you always take that opportunity, because as they get older, they're more likely to just not ask you, because they're going to be playing with their own friends, or they're going to get to be teenagers, and they just have different things that they're doing, or sports or clubs, and you only have so much time with them at a certain age. So that would be another idea of like an opportunity that if you don't take it at the time, if it's not the right timing, then you may miss out on some really quality moments.
Yeah, and you'll miss out on the compound interest, of spending time with them. Because I mean, when you're talking about learning health and cooking and fitness early on, what you're doing is accruing. You're sort of like contributing to your, wellness 401k from an early age that you can always draw upon. Whereas, and I think the same thing works with kids and their connection to you. If you don't take those opportunities, then when they're 14, you can try to rekindle that connection, but you'll really have missed all those years and in the accumulation of those years, and all the accumulated experience from, we hung out when we were, we did this thing when we were 5 and we started building this memory. And, that's something that, it's gone forever if you don't take it. And it's not really additive. It's more, what's the word? Exponential, or, it builds upon itself. It multiplies upon itself.
Cumulative?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something general about opportunities as well. So like if people have kids, I don't have kids, but I'm guessing a lot of the time when the kids ask them to do something, people, when they're saying no and not saying yes and doing the thing, it's not a good time. They're busy with something. It's not the right time now, so they'll put it off, meaning to do it later, and then the next time's not the right time, and then it's not a good time. But there's something about opportunities in general. It's never the right time. By definition, they just turn up randomly. You're doing something else. You're not sitting waiting for this particular opportunity, and then it won't be the right time. So like for something like kids, you would have to just do it then. And I mean, it's no different from exercising or whatever. A lot of the time you just don't feel like doing it now, but if you don't do it now, you can't do it later. So you just do it now.
Yeah,
it's that kind of it's a sort of. It's a response to things coming to you that are kind of like low level, unexpected things. You're going in one direction, this thing comes, and then you just have to adjust course and do this thing. Because if you keep going that one, if you keep going down the straight line, there's no turn off anymore later. It's much later, the next turn off, something like this.
Yeah.
Like
and it takes a lot more initial energy to get that going again.
Exactly. Because to take the kids analogy, like example, they're in motion asking you to do something. So it's much easier to go along with something that's already in motion than to go from inertia to starting something up and getting people interested. It's much easier, especially like it's much easier just to, this is an opportunity. I'll just do this. And like you said, Keith, about starting the health thing when you're younger, that's the kind of thing that you don't. The extra 10 years of good eating and looking after yourself health-wise, you can get away with that in your 20s, and you won't notice really either or in your 30s, depending if the person looks after themselves in their 30s. You maybe get away with that, but you don't know until later. It's the other end of your life. That 10 years of bad behavior at the start could be 20 years of shit at the end of your life. Whereas you obviously can't compare it with anything, but you don't know, or you just could be 10 years of less life. You have no idea. So I suppose that's partly that's just like wear and tear, reducing wear and tear, but it's also the exponential thing, the wellness thing. You're not building general health. You're not improving your immune system and things like this.
Yeah. On a more like individual level too, I think like when I was younger, I like over the past maybe 5 years, 6 years or so, I've really tried to focus on taking opportunities as opposed to kind of like shying away from them. So that I think that's something that I've consciously have tried to change for myself. And it's not just like when presented with an opportunity. It's like even when an idea comes to my mind, I try to do that right away, because I try not to put those ideas off, because you end up, you almost get comfortable in the fact that you could put it off. And then that becomes the pattern, putting things off. So like when someone, or even like if I catch something in the corner of my eye and I see something like lying on the ground that should be taken up and put away, like I don't put that off. If I'm doing something important, obviously I put that off, but I try not to put things like that off. And that's just a small way of like me noticing an opportunity to make something a little bit better, or improve something in some way, even if it's like the towel fell off the hanger and it fell on the ground. So I'm not just going to let that sit there. I'm going to go over and put it up. And that may seem like such a small inconsequential thing, but the my thought pattern behind that is like always be working on making things a little bit better, and put things in the right place, and follow that type of mentality. And that carries through into larger things, like when you're presented with different opportunities. I'm just more likely to want to do them, to consider them, to go after them, as opposed to, I feel like when I was younger, I would be like, nah, that's not for me right now. Maybe I shouldn't do it. And I feel like maybe I missed out on some stuff because I did that. But that's something I've worked on being better at, is just anytime I notice something, try to act on it, because that's, you don't know what else that opens up when you go after those things.
So like the physical, tidying up, the controlling things physically around you kind of spills over into non-physical things. So you kind of, if you're used to just putting things in the right place or dealing with things straight away, if like something starts niggling you emotionally, you'll deal with that rather than ignore it and let it build up and make more of a mess or whatever. It's kind of, I've noticed that a lot of things, if you deal with the structure, the physical structure, it kind of filters up, like the lower level of your brain or your body. I don't know how you would say it, but it will filter up much easier than top will filter down. You know, like it's your no amount of thinking of clean thoughts will clean your house. I mean, it might encourage you in some way, but it's not the same as it's not as strong as cleaning the house will affect your emotions, and cleaning your emotions more is much stronger. But because you live in the world in your head and you're thinking words all the time, and we live mostly in this kind of that kind of world, you think it's the main thing, but it's not the main thing.
Yeah, and it does filter up. I mean, like a big example was the trip to Hawaii that we did. I don't know if I was presented with the same opportunity like 5 years ago, if I would have done the same thing, just because it's one, like you're going to meet people that you never met before, halfway around the world. There's a significant cost to it. So it's not just like driving an hour to meet someone at a coffee shop, like that, but it's also a really good opportunity to grow and learn new things and expand your horizons, for a cliche. But those are more along the lines of the opportunities, like doing these small things over time. It really builds into these bigger patterns of saying yes to stuff. And I'm not saying yes to everything, but saying yes to enough things where you think that on the other side of that, it's going to be a really big, well, I guess at worst, it's just a good time. And at best, it's a huge inflection point. So yeah, those are just some ideas on opportunity, And the risk of not taking opportunities is you don't get to enjoy those potentialities that may come from whatever you're acting upon. And obviously, I don't know if there's and we could go off into something else, but those are just some ideas I thought would be just cool to talk about. And I don't know. It doesn't seem like you guys have maybe not differing opinions or something, or I don't know.
You kind of said it all. You really. I would be curious to hear from you, since you are a bit of a younger guy. What are there any concrete steps you would take? You would recommend to someone who's maybe the same age you were when you started getting involved and started taking better opportunities, especially with your health?
Damn, that's a good question. I don't know if I could offer specific advice for that. I'll try to think about it for a second, though. The biggest thing is just recognizing your own thoughts. Like, at least that was it. That was it for me. And I think writing helped with that. When I used to write a lot more than I do now, because I was writing a lot of my thoughts down, and then it was just a matter of like realizing that you had those thoughts. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, it'll cross my mind for like a specific, like, oh, I might want to try that, or like you go even to the grocery store and you see something that you've never cooked before or food you've never tried. Mm-hmm. If you see that and you're like, the sheer fact that it's piqued your interest in some way, that it didn't just pass by without you recognizing it, means that there might be something to it. So if you can recognize when your interest gets piqued, even at a very low level, and then just go and try something like that, then I think that's an important first step. Just realizing if something catches your attention, then kind of pull on that thread a little bit more, because you don't know where that might lead you.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's really good.
So it's about movement, isn't it? Things are moving, and you either join something that's already moving, or you create your own opportunity by moving and making something happen, and then seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Because like if you take like an idea will come to you, and people always talk about this. Ideas come to them best when they're out walking or whatever, doing something, usually moving. We've talked about this before. So there's like even like an idea, it comes to you usually from movement, and then whether you act on it is more movement. Or if somebody comes to you with an opportunity, an idea, there's something in the world that was already in motion that you didn't even know about until now, and then you're either going to join it and make it move more, or ignore it and it moves past you. And then you might think, oh, I'll do that later, and then when you go later, you can't join it anymore. It's not, you're no longer a link in that chain of movements that for that particular thing. You have to wait for the next thing. Because that's something I noticed, I've thought about, was you think of like, you get a good opportunity to do something. Say someone offers you like if it's a business idea or a job, or they give you the chance to do something or go somewhere that you wouldn't normally have, and you think, nah, I'll do it some other time, or it's not a good time. But you don't know. The habit is to think that there's just you in the world. You're like this separated person in the world, and then this opportunity comes along, and then all you need to do is, well, later I'm this person. Well, then I'll just arrange that opportunity again. But the opportunity came to you was in a context. The whole world was a certain way at that point in time when that opportunity was coming to you. And then if you just ignore it, it's a whole new configuration of the world then. So you're assuming there's a staticness to things that isn't there. That's like a trick of your mind, because I mean, it's a cliche to say, oh yeah, you might not get the opportunity later, but it's more than that. It's that, or say it's like an idea you have like an idea. well, that idea was, when the idea happened, the whole world was a certain way. Your whole life, your whole world was a specific way. Maybe the idea is ripe right now because it came to you. Say if it comes up from your unconscious, whatever. That's the idea is ripe at that moment. So you have to act on it then because the world is ready for that idea right now. That's why you had it. If you do it later, you're now trying to plant the seed at the wrong time, or the fruit you've ignored the fruit, and you're wondering why there's no fruit now. You'd let it die. I'll get it later. Well, there's no fruit now. That kind of thing. So, because we always think of it one-sided. There's the opportunity is the universe speaking into you. It's not just you who get this thing out there and you can play with the things. It's not a thing. It's a an interconnected event, and you either take part in that event and encourage it, or you ignore it and then it's maybe lost.
Yeah.
It's a bit mystical, I suppose, but it seems to be true, because many times I've had amazing ideas, or even just something that's simple as to write something, and it's really clear this is a great idea for writing. I'll do it another time and it's better. And then when I go to write it, it's just not there. The energy's not there. It just doesn't work. Same idea, different time. It just needed done then because it was right. It was like the idea is it comes to the surface enough for you to realize there's something under the surface that you need to bring out. Well, later it's maybe gone. Your imagination or whatever it is has moved on to the next thing.
Yeah. I like that. I like that analogy. Like I had an image come to my mind when you're saying that. So like, imagine you're a specific point on a screen, and you're like scrolling across the screen, and then there's also a background kind of scrolling in the opposite direction behind you, and there's going to be certain things on that background or elements of it that you're going to line up with at certain points, but you're always moving and that background's always moving. So at certain crossroads, those are going to line up, and that's when you got to act on the opportunity, or else that doesn't happen again, or you have to wait however long for another one of those not to say opportunities don't occur all the time, but
opportunities they have a history. It's been developing you weren't there, and it's been developing behind the scenes. All these things have been taking place. People have been making all these decisions. Then it arrives to you and you just think it's this thing now, but actually this is this long development, and it's coming through you to carry on developing. And then if you just stop it, then it just carries on somewhere else. You can't just jump in later. You can't just take the job that you said no to now that somebody else is in it and doing it well, or whatever. It's like, and just some things are just in there. It's the right time for them. You had the idea for something because you were noticing there was a kind of quote energy in the air for some particular thing, and then later just people have moved on. It doesn't work anymore. No, it's all movement. It's going with the movement. I've heard people say this about money. I'm not qualified to talk about money, but I've heard people say about, you have to be in the movement, in the middle of money, where money's moving, so it moves through you to the next place. And I know that's true in other things as well. So it's just more movement.
Yeah, to sit on the sidelines is to stagnate. And then there's also a like to build off of this, if it's the movement, like you also have to be willing to step away from it when it ceases to be the right opportunity anymore. So I don't think he's on Twitter anymore, but XA Alexander had, I think in his bio maybe for a while, or a pinned tweet or something, but it said something like the trend is your friend until it ends. And there's a lot of wisdom in that. Like knowing when to step away from something is also maybe just as important as knowing when to take the risk to join something, because either the cultural climate changes around something, or it ends up just being another point of stagnation if you stay with things for too long. That you stop growing, and if you can't continue to move on to the next thing, the next piece of the puzzle that will enhance or make your life more sophisticated or grow better, then then you missed your opportunity to jump the ship, and you may ride that into the ground. And you certainly see that sometimes. I think maybe investing is a good thing, where people get invested in a certain stock or a cryptocurrency or something, and they believe in it so hard, and they rode that wave up. They got a good opportunity. They rode it all the way up, and then they weren't ready to let go at the right time. And then the trend changes, and all of a sudden now it's going downhill, and it's so far down that they're just saying, well, I've trusted it this long and it's brought me a lot of good fortune, but they continue to stick with it instead of changing strategies, and you end up way worse off because you can't adapt and move on to the next thing. So there's certainly a risk in well, I guess there's risk in taking the opportunity in the first place, and then there's risk in not leaving the trend when it's good for you to leave. I think there's an interview with Jerry Seinfeld, and he said it was like asking him, "Oh, your show was at the height of success when you ended it after 8 seasons or 9 seasons or something," and he said, yeah, I wanted to leave on a high note. I didn't want to keep on extending this just for the sake of money or more fame or something, and just have it all go to shit. So there's something to stepping away from opportunities. Yeah, I don't know if Eric's coming back or not, but I know. Well, I don't know. We could make that a short episode, kind of, I guess. That was about, I don't know how long we went, maybe 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, can do that.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to sum up then about opportunities? I could cut in at the end.
Yeah. Take them, even if you don't think that they're that good. You don't know what else it can open up to you just by doing it, especially if you're young.
What's the biggest opportunity that you're acting on right now?
That's a great question that I don't know. I should have come locked and loaded with that one, but yeah, I would have to think about it more. I don't have it.
Okay, I won't put that in then.
Yeah.
I suppose actually the podcast, really, this podcast we're doing right now was this kind of dealing with opportunities in that way. Because, I'd had the idea for ages, and I was not acting on the opportunity. And then just one day I was in the zone for emailing to messaging out and starting it, and I still stopped myself, and then I stopped myself from stopping myself. No, just fuck it, send a message now, and then we'll have to deal with it. It'll be in motion. If it's going to happen, it'll be in motion. And then you guys, within a day we were doing it. From your point of view, you guys were just saying yes to an opportunity that you didn't think about at that time, but for me, it had like this whole history before I actually sent the message, but for you guys, it's just like an off the cuff idea. And then you both just said yes straight away.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
it wouldn't have happened if either of you were like coming and hawing, that time, and like it wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have done it with anyone else. It just wouldn't have happened. For like a while later, maybe. But
it just aligned at the right time. So yeah, I was this has been a great opportunity. I like doing this. And then the other opportunity I took, I guess, was the breath hold course back in November. So I could have easily just not done that, but I saw it come about, and it piqued my interest. And relatively, it wasn't that much money, so I said, "The hell with it, I'll do it." And that certainly changed a lot of. I don't know. It just slightly redirected me on a lot of things. So. That was just another example of an opportunity I took at the time.
And that seems to have been you were talking about lots of benefits from that you wouldn't have guessed in advance.
Yeah.
Until you did it. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess another thing is like don't look back on the opportunities that you did take and think that they may have been the wrong thing. Just because you can't change them, and two, you don't know where it's setting you up to go forward as well. So you may be in this, like for me, I feel like personally, I'm just in a transitionary period. Like last year, the housing market got really hot around, I guess over a year and a half ago now. Housing market in my area got really hot, and I sold my place, and I made a lot of money on that sale. And the flip side of that is the housing market is really hot, so everywhere to buy or own and all that is just expensive. So I've been living with family, and but that's also that doing that also allowed me to leave my job last October because I had the additional income from the sale of my condo, and then just been able to save money just on living expenses too.
Did you consider going overseas, or is this, well, obviously it's harder now because of COVID, but
no,
not your thing?
Yeah, no, I haven't considered that at all. Why do you say that?
It's just because a lot of people your age, when they get a bit of cash, they'll just want to go and travel around a bit for a while. And live. What I mean is, because you're saying it's expensive to buy another place, obviously your money will be worth more in a cheaper currency country. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, that would be more like, I would just feel like I'm blowing it at that point, just for the sake of experience or whatever. Like I want to use that and use it more of as jumping off point for the trajectory I want to go in, as opposed to try some new different experience. So I want there to be I don't know, a direction to it, as opposed to non-direct. Well, whatever, just try it for the sake of saying like, fuck it, I'll do it, or something like that. I want to have meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Or I want to have purpose behind the way I move forward.
Yeah,
so my point is that just like going back, I took certain opportunities not knowing where they're going to pan out. And I've been doing that for a couple years now. And in a lot of not everything works out the way you want it to, but it does open up some doors in certain areas that you don't know where they could lead to, and you put up with some stuff that you maybe don't want to in the short term, but you keep on taking the opportunities that are going to lead you down or closer down the path that you envision. So that's what I'm trying to do, and not always successful, but what did the original one of the original titles for this that we threw out there is like growing towards the light. And I think that's kind of the idea. Take every opportunity you can in terms of going towards the light, if the light is your ideal that you want to get to.
Love it. Yeah. Nice. So that's how you know whether you're taking the right opportunity or whether you're the things you should not take and the things you should deciding based on whether it's taking you towards the light or not. And you kind of usually have a kind of feeling whether it is or not.
Yeah. But like I think, or most people know, like if they're taking an opportunity just to do it, or taking an opportunity because it's actually going to drive them along their path that they know they should be on. And I mean, like, I don't know if everyone knows consciously, but I think deep down they know when certain things are good for them and bad for them. And
you tend to know when it's like the wrong thing, and there's something not quite right, but you do it anyway, and then it falls apart, or it's with the wrong people, or it's just the wrong. There's you usually have a kind of inkling about it. That you have to convince yourself out of. I'm not sure. Do we have as an accurate instinct or intuition, really, for the good things as much as the instinct, the intuition for knowing when it's a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? You're more likely to know it's something to avoid than to know it's something to go for. For me, anyway, I'm not very good at.
No, that's true, and I think
Yeah.
there's also like an evolutionary principle to that, in that you're more likely to know to avoid the bad things because they could be detrimental. In that, like the worst case scenario, the bad thing leads to your death, whereas like the good thing is just leads to more life, but you don't know in what direction. So like it's much better to avoid death than to seek life, because there's
Yeah.
select things that are going to kill you, and like speaking on an evolutionary basis, but a lot of stuff is just not going to kill you.
And then I suppose part of the wisdom of getting older and wiser is you recognize the difference between the kind of hunch that something's a bad idea is not the same thing as I'm out of my comfort zone and I would be kind of a bit scared to do that and I'd feel uncomfortable doing that. And just because it feels like it would be uncomfortable doesn't mean it's the wrong thing. And then you kind of it doesn't mean it's the wrong thing to do. It probably is the right thing to do. It's going to make you out of your comfort zone because this is the next stage or whatever for you. But when you're younger, you can't really. Well, I mean, I'm speaking personally, but sometimes you can't tell the difference, and then you realize you look back and you go, "No, that was just fear. I didn't do that because I was scared. It wasn't because it was the wrong thing." Or you can kid yourself on, "Yeah, I stayed out of that because blah blah blah," but really you're just scared, which is fine, once you realize, because then the next time you'll be scared of some other thing, but it'll be a different situation, but it's the same response to being out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that 100%. A lot of it is just fear initially. It's not anything else, and growth is a lot of times just overcoming fears that you have, whether they're rational or irrational. Overcoming them, knowing that it's going to benefit you by doing so.
Cool. Going towards the light. Sounds good.
Yeah.